Hare Krishna, Krishna. Everybody, everybody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Go Premanandi. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravakacharya Sutera Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravakacharya Sutera Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Chaimakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Maya Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Yuga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Briyat Mridanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Go Premanandi. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Somebody with authority can talk to them. I'm brahmachari. It's not really my domain, you know. They don't listen to me at all. Krishna house is not. I know. We don't even need all the. I know. Everybody's sick today.
Hey, who's that?
That's me and my guru on my initiation. I'll tell you. I'll tell you later. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yashodanandana Bhajajana Anjana Yashodanandana Bhajajana Anjana Yamunatiravanachai Yamunatiravanachai Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yashodanandana Bhajajana Anjana Yashodanandana Bhajajana Anjana Yamunatiravanachai Yamunatiravanachai Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Shri Radha Madhava ki, Shri Radhakala Chanji ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam naham chaiva narotanam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiyayat naskapayesha badeshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki om agyantimirandasya gyananjala shalakaya Chakshun militanyena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him, and I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the wonderful Vaishnavas in this room right now, who are taking the time to come here and hear and chant about the Lord, which they know is the best thing they could ever do for themselves. So I congratulate you. Hare Krishna. Dustin, are you going to do the laptop, or is somebody going to do the laptop, or just for the verses? Yeah, thank you very much. So today we are hearing from Canto 5, Chapter 6, and we'll be going through from verse 6 to verse 19. So it's quite a few verses. It's a lot to cover. I mean, every verse here we could do a whole class on easily. But we'll try to have a nice overview of the lessons that we can learn. Because the thing with going to a class is we're here to learn. And to learn, what does it mean to learn? It doesn't mean just theoretical knowledge of like, oh, I know things, I can teach other people and feel proud of myself. Real knowledge is realized knowledge, which means I change, which means I walk out of this room and I'm different. And I think differently, I speak differently, I act differently. But that's hard for us sometimes, The false ego is always there to make sure to keep us the same. So we all want change. We all want change in this world, but how much do we want to change? So that's just a reflection I wanted us to have before we start. So we'll read from verse 6 to 19. We need microphone also, right? We don't have that. I can go get it. 5, 6, 6. Well, yeah, just go to chapter 5 and then we can go to verse 6. Maybe I'll just start reading, yeah. Or I guess I'll just start reading until that gets ready, so. Okay. So now we have the story, the ending of the story of Lord Rishabhadev. So if we remember, Lord Rishabhadev is actually a plenary expansion of the Lord, so he's an incarnation, which means he has the same potency, he's as powerful. And now he's about to leave this world. And remember, he became an avadut, so he became really renounced. He was going around naked. He was doing all kinds of things that we wouldn't necessarily do. But that means he was completely aloof to this material world. So, text 6. Lord Rishabhadev was the head of all kings and emperors within this universe. But assuming the dress and language of an avadut, he acted as if dull and materially bound. Consequently, no one could observe his divine opulence. He adopted this behavior just to teach yogis how to give up the body. Nonetheless, he maintained his original position as a plenary expansion of Lord Vasudeva Krishna. Remaining always in that state, he gave up his pastimes as Lord Rishabhadev within the material world. If following the footsteps of Lord Rishabhadev, one can give up his subtle body, there is no chance that one will accept a material body again. So what we see here is the Lord Rishabhadev, he's the Lord. He could just disappear, he could just fly into the sky, but he wanted to give us the example of how we should give up our own body. And so we hear in Bhagavad Gita, this verse 321, Yad yada charati sheshtas tata devata ojana sayad pananam pamanam kurute lokas tadanuvatate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets, by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So this is why out of the great kindness of the Lord, he comes down on earth in this terrible place just to show us how to behave. But we'll see that some people misinterpreted or didn't properly follow Lord Rishabhadev's example or teachings. So, are we ready? Text 7, somebody can read.
Actually, Lord Rishabhadev had no material body, but due to Yogamaya, he considered his body material, and therefore, because he played like an ordinary human being, he gave up the mentality of identifying with it. Following this principle, he began to wander all over the world. While traveling, he came to the province of Karnataka in South India and passed through Konka, Vinka, and Kutaka. He had no plan to travel this way, but he arrived near Kutakakala and entered a forest there. He placed stones within his mouth and began to wander through the forest naked and with his hair disheveled like a madman.
While he was wandering about, a wild forest fire began. This fire was caused by the friction of bamboos which were being blown by the wind. In that fire, the entire forest near Kukachala and the body of Lord Rishabhadeva were burnt to ashes.
So this is how aloof Lord Rishabhadev was of his material body. He was just like, okay, forest fire, my time to go. So he just kind of accepted it and just left like that.
Shukadev Goswami continues speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. My dear king, the king of Kunka, Vinka and Kutaka, whose name was Arhat, heard of the activities of Rishabhadev and imitating Rishabhadev's principles, introducing a new system of religion. Taking advantage of Kali Yuga, the age of sinful activity, King Arhat being bewildered, gave up the Vedic principles which are free from risk and concocted a new system of religion opposed to the Vedas. That was the beginning of the Jain Dharma. Many other so-called religions followed this atheistic system.
This verse is very important. This is very interesting. I mean, it's pointing out how this Jain religion started off. So that was big news to me, that actually originally their first personality they were following was Lord Rishabhadev. But because of the influence of Kali Yuga, this was a concocted religion that wasn't truly following his example and his teachings. And it reminded me of a verse I just read in the Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto 12, chapter 2, verse 1. Shukadev Goswami says, Tatash chanu dinam dharma satyam socham kshama daya galena balina rajan nan kshayati ayor balam smriti. Shukadev Goswami said, then, O king, religion, truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, mercy, duration of life, physical strength, and memory will all diminish day by day because of the powerful influence of the age of Kali. So we see here that he points out that religion is one of those things that will be affected big time by the age of Kali. And so we see that in every major religion around the world, is that at its core, the purpose is very virtuous, and it's, love of God and connecting with a higher power, being a good person, purifying. But because of the influence of Kali and the lower modes of nature, we misinterpret these scriptures, and we come up with all kinds of nonsense teachings that were not actually there to begin with. So we'll go more into that in the next verse. Can we please read? Thank you.
People who are the lowest among men and bewildered by the illusionary energy of the Supreme Lord will give up the original Varnashram Dharma and its rules and regulations. They will abandon bathing 3 times daily and worshipping the Lord, abandoning cleanliness and neglecting the Supreme Lord. They will accept nonsensical principles, not regularly bathing or washing their mouths regularly. They will always remain unclean, and they will pluck out their hair following the concoct religion. They will flourish during this age of Kali. People are more inclined to irreligious system. Consequently, these people will naturally deride Vedic authority. The followers of the Vedic authority, the Brahmanas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and devotees.
So this is the verse we'll go deeper into later on. We'll just finish until 19 first.
Low-class people, due to their gross ignorance, introduce a system of religion that deviates from the Vedic principles. Following their own mental concoctions, they automatically fall down into the darkest regions of existence.
In this age of Kali, people are overwhelmed by the modes of passion and ignorance. Lord Rishabhadev incarnated himself to deliver them from the clutches of Maya.
Learned scholars chant about the transcendental qualities of Lord Shrabhasdeva in this way. Oh, this earthly planet contains 7 seas and many islands and lands, of which Bharata Varsa is considered the most pious. People of Bharata are accustomed to glorifying the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his incarnations as Lord Shrabhadeva and others. All these activities are very auspicious for the welfare of humanity.
Oh, what shall I say of the dynasty of Priyavrata, which is pure and very much celebrated? In that dynasty, the Supreme Person, the original personality of Godhead, descended as an incarnation and executed religious principles that could free one from the results of fruitive activity.
Who is that mystic yogi who can follow the examples of Lord Rashbadeva, even with his mind? Lord Rashbadeva rejected all kinds of yogic perfection which other yogis hanker to attain. Who is that yogi who can compare to Lord Rashbadeva?
Sukadeva Goswami continued, Lord Vasudeva is the master of all the Vedic knowledge, human beings, demigods, cows, brahmanas. I have already explained his pure transcendental activities, which will vanquish the sinful activities of all living entities. This narration of the Lord Vasudeva pastimes in the reservoir of all auspicious things. Whoever attentively hears, speaks of them, following the footsteps of Acharyas, will certainly attain the unalloyed devotional service at the lotus feet of the Lord Vasudeva, Supreme Personality of the Godhead.
Devotees always bathe themselves in devotional service in order to be relieved from the various tribulations of material existence. By doing this, the devotees enjoy supreme bliss, and liberation personified comes to serve them. Nonetheless, they do not accept that service, even if it is offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For the devotee's liberation, mukti, is very unimportant because, having attained the Lord's transcendental loving service, they have attained everything desirable and have transcended all material desires.
Sukadevi Goswami continued, "My dear king, the Supreme Person, Mukunda, is actually the maintainer of all the members of the Pandava and Yadu dynasties. He is your spiritual master, worshipful deity, friend, and director of your activities. To say nothing of this, he sometimes serves your family as a messenger or servant. This means he worked just as an ordinary servants do. Those engaged in getting the Lord's favor attain liberation from the Lord very easily, but he does not very easily give the opportunity to render direct service unto him." The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Rishabhadev, was fully aware of his true identity. Therefore, he was self-sufficient, and he did not desire external gratification. There is no need for him to aspire for success, since he is complete in himself. Those who unnecessarily engage in the bodily conceptions and create an atmosphere of materialism are always ignorant out of their real self-interest. Out of his causeless mercy, Lord Rishabhadev taught themselves real identity, the goal of life. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who appeared as Lord Rishabhadev.
So please go to verse 10. Focus on verse 10. So before we recite this verse, I just want to ask, what are some of the teachings of Lord Rishabhadev that we heard in the last classes? What did Lord Rishabhadev teach? Yes. Renunciation of what? Everything? Everything except the Lord? Yes. Nice. And why is that important? Why is renunciation important?
Because it helps you to focus on the Lord and put aside the material world.
Yes, thank you. Did it teach anything else? Anybody remembers? Devotional service, pure devotional service, love for God. He didn't just teach renunciation, because there's so many yogis, gurus that teach pretty much just renunciation. This world is false, it's illusion, just forget about it. And then you will, merge back into become God again type of thing. That's not what he was teaching. He was teaching devotional service. Okay, so the Sanskrit is pretty wild on this one. So we're going to skip to the translation. People who are lowest among men and bewildered by the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord will give up the original Varnashram Dharma and its rules and regulations. They will abandon bathing 3 times daily and worshipping the Lord. Abandoning cleanliness and neglecting the Supreme Lord, they will accept nonsensical principles. Not regularly bathing or washing their mouths regularly, they will always remain unclean, and they will pluck out their hair. Following a concocted religion, they will flourish. During this age of Kali, people are more inclined to religious systems. Consequently, these people will naturally deride Vedic authority, the followers of Vedic authority, the Brahmanas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the devotees. So has anyone here ever heard of this? You've heard of this, eh? Jainism. Yeah, I have a nice friend in Ottawa. He comes to the temple all the time. His last name is actually Jain. He's from a Jain family. And he was telling me about these Jain sadhus, Jain monks, that they go around naked, and they will actually, whenever the hair grows, they will pluck it out themselves. They pluck out their own hair, like that. And as we hear, and I did some research, and as we see here, they don't wash themselves so much. They don't bathe so much. They're very, very just like renounced. And all of that isn't necessarily what's the worst thing about it. The worst thing is that they're not worshiping the Lord. They're not focusing on becoming pure devotees. Their goal is to merge, to become liberated from the material world. And that wasn't the teachings of Lord Rishabhadev. So anyways, we'll hear more about in the purport. So Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Jagaguru says, presently the hippies in the Western countries fit this description. They are irresponsible and unregulated. They do not bathe, and they deride standard Vedic knowledge. They concoct new lifestyles and religions. There are many hippie groups at the present moment, but they all originated from King Arhat, who imitated the activities of Lord Rishabhadev, who was situated on the Paramahansa stage. King Arhat did not care for the fact that although Lord Rishabhadev acted like a madman, his stool and urine were nonetheless aromatic, so much so that they nicely scented the countryside for miles around. The followers of King Arhat went under the name Jains, and they were later followed by many others, particularly by the hippies, who are more or less offshoots of Mayavad philosophy because they think themselves the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such people do not respect the real followers of Vedic principles, the ideal Brahmanas, nor do they have respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Brahman. Due to the influence of this age of Kali, they are apt to concoct false religious systems. It's very interesting how Srila Prabhupada made the connection here between the hippies and the Jains. I mean, at the time when he wrote this, it was, the golden age of the hippie movement, in the 70s. And he was seeing correlation. So, like the hippies, Jains are focused on detachment. I was around a lot of hippies at one point, and that's how it is. It's like reject, 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 This society is bad, this government is bad, religion is bad, this is bad, bad, bad. So what do we do instead? Okay, we just don't wear clothes, dance around the fire, hold hands, smoke cannabis maybe. They don't really know what to replace it with. They and it can be a qualification, and that's why it was mostly hippies who even started this movement in the first place, because they at least had that qualification of detachment. They were at least like, okay, I'm not interested in this society or in this material world, but they just didn't know what to replace it with. So they just kind of pick things that they like, usually from Eastern spirituality. Like, okay, I like the chakras, I'll take that, and I like the prana, I'll take that, and I like the yoga. Take a little bit of things here and there. But you don't make any significant spiritual advancement unless you follow a bona fide spiritual master and a bona fide process of advancement. So the Jains, they practice self-restraint. Non-violence is a big thing for them. I mean, it's a big thing for us, but they take it to another level. My understanding is they don't even eat any plants that come from like roots. Like if you had to like take out plant and kill the plant, they wouldn't eat that. They would only take like byproducts of plants. Like the apple is on the tree, you can eat that type of thing. And they would go around with like a mask to make sure they don't eat any bugs by accident, like that. So the nonviolence is not the problem. Like I said, the problem is just there's no devotion, there's no love of God. What is the goal of life? Why are we here? Just to say neti neti, no, everything. So you see this King Arhat here. He was following in the example, in the footsteps of Lord Rishabhadev, but he, just from the outside, he was just hearing about his activities. Oh, he was all renounced. He didn't bathe. And eventually they saw, okay, he reached liberation. He broke the cycle of birth and death. Let me imitate that. Let me see if I can do that. And that's how this all started. So I guess it's important. It shows the importance of parampara. It shows the importance that we can't just try to follow the example of a guru that we just kind of hear about and when we try to follow. It's important that we have a representative in this day and age to help us make sure that we have the correct understanding. of what this guru was trying to show, because then, or else over time, it gets lost. And for example, Prabhupada would call Lord Jesus Christ as a spiritual master, but we don't have a proper pure parampara, like a disciplic succession nowadays. We don't have like a pure self-realized soul nowadays to properly give us, okay, this is what Jesus wanted to say, and this is how he behaved, and we don't. So that's why there's so much misunderstanding, so much war and violence being done in the name of a pure devotee of the Lord. So that's what happened, especially in Kali Yuga. This is a problem that we have. And so what else do I have on this? Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Any questions? No? What is a Paramahamsa? Any idea? Paramahamsa? So somebody that looks like a swan?
Hare Krishna. No, I don't. Hamsa means swan. So swan-like person. Swans are able to take the milk out of water. So a Paramahamsa is a great personality, saintly person who's able to extract the essence out of anything.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, it's Uttama Adhikari. They just see the soul. They don't see all of the influences of the material energy. They don't see all of the anarthas and the sinful behavior. They see this is a pure spirit soul. He's serving Krishna in his own way. So they extract the essence. But also Paramahamsa is more specifically actually a stage of sannyas. Is the highest stage in sannyas, in the renounced order. And at that stage, my understanding is that they don't go around traveling everywhere, trying to preach, trying to share the knowledge. They'll stay at one place and they'll just do their bhajan, just focus on connecting with the Lord and go back to Him. So how is it that Lord Rishabhadev is known as a Paramahamsa? How is that? Anybody? He had the qualities I just said. It's true. Yeah, he was. Well, we heard in the last class by Nanda Braj Prabhu that he used to go around traveling here and there, wandering around, but eventually he just decided to just stay at one spot and just focus on his spiritual life. And yeah, it's very interesting because this religion, Jainism, actually grew up very big, and we don't want to be sectarian, and we try to see the essence of all of the religions and see how we can relate to them. And actually, my understanding is Jains actually see a lot of common between what they call Hinduism, Hinduism and Jainism. They also believe in karma, reincarnation, these kinds of things. They tend to be very favorable. It's similar to like people that are like, impersonalists, like yogis. Like I was one of those. I was believing, okay, we're all one, we're all Brahman. The goal of life is to merge. A lot of people get stuck in that, but a lot of people, I think, if they hear from a pure devotee, they can realize that, okay, wait a minute, that doesn't really make that much sense. I'm God. Why do I have to like use the washroom every day and like do all these embarrassing things? Or like, why is my life so difficult? Or like, why is it so hard for me to remember that I'm God? So, and also, okay, the goal of life is to stop existing, to just not be. Really, that doesn't sound that good. Maybe I'll just keep enjoying the material world. That kind of sounds better than just spiritual suicide. So, yeah, I'm so grateful for Srila Prabhupada. He took me out of this ocean of nations and brought me to the conception of God as a person. A person that we can love. The person that's always there with us in our heart. He's watching all of our behavior, all of our actions. He hears all of our thoughts. Can you imagine? He hears all of our thoughts. But he's never judging. He's always loving. And he's just waiting for us to turn towards him. And if we're sitting here right now, it's because we got some mercy. We got some mercy from a devotee. I was hearing from SPK Maharaj. He was giving a lecture on Madhurya Kadambika. I think that's what it's called. Kadambini? Madhurya Kadambini by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This book focuses primarily on the stages of advancement in devotional service from Shraddha to Prema. And I'm not sure if you've all seen the image of the plant. It starts off with the seed of devotional service, and as you water it with bhakti practices, the plant grows and grows, and then you go through the different stages, but then there's like weeds, and there's like thorns, and there's like obstacles along the way. But he spent a lot of time just speaking about how does this original faith begin? How does this bhakti lata bij, this seed of devotional service, how does it get implanted? How does the faith begin? Because we see the majority of people, they don't have it. So how come we got a little bit? What happened? Any idea? Yeah? Sorry? Mercy of the devotees. Thank you. Yes, Prema. What's the verse?
I was reading Shiva Maharaj's book, the introduction to the Krishna and Vrindavan series, and he was explaining that can actually start just by yes, the mercy of the devotees can be causes. Another thing, what makes us even able to receive the mercy of the devotee. So this was a kind of interesting thing that he said, was that a pious person might just be generally pious, so they open their home and they allow people to come in and they feed them, so they're just doing this pious activity, and they're feeding the general public. They don't really get the spiritual benefit for that. They get good karma. But because they're doing that activity of opening their home and allowing people to come in and eat, a devotee might come in and eat just by some chance or Krishna's arrangement. This might happen, and then they get sukriti, without knowing they served a devotee, and by that sukriti, Krishna is able to come into their heart and arrange that they yeah. So this is why just simply pious people can then go, the mode of goodness is the platform to then reach higher levels of transcendental goodness.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so that's one scenario that because of their pious deeds, their activities in the mode of goodness gives them some sukriti, some pious credits. Yeah, and then encountering devotees or serving devotees, then they can help elevate them. You have something to say, Prabhu?
Yeah, thank you. Premamrita actually said it, but I was thinking in Chaitanya Charitamrita, as is explained, Guru Krishna Kripa Paya Bhakti Rata Bij. But before that, what happened with a guru, right? So she said, Upanishad Prabhupada writes, right, the definition of sin, which is willful disobedience to the will of God. So these principles, like she explained, like Jainism, Krishna himself gives a hierarchy. If you can't follow, if you can't engage your mind in me, then there is one step below, then there is another step below, and so many. So piety basically brings the conditioned soul to an understanding that I need to accept the authority of the Supreme Lord. When I'm practicing one particular principle, like as you said, non-violence, one particular sect is following that, okay, that opens up their heart. So anytime they come in contact with a saintly person, they are receptive. There is another principle here that I need to follow. Now there is another film. That's how actually each one of us, right? We come to Krishna consciousness, we come to know so many newer and newer things, and we want to follow. So that receptivity basically, I think, comes from that piety, as she pointed out.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so there's various activities or ways of being that can make us eventually receptive to the seed of devotional service. One of them is price credits. Another one I was thinking is also getting kicked enough times by Maya. Receiving karmic reactions that hurt over and over again. And eventually you realize, okay, I've been trying this whole thing of being the controller and being independent for a while, and you know what? It's not going very well. So let me open myself up to a spiritual master. Let me open myself up to a guide. Let me look around and see, okay, who seems to be happy, or who seems to be imbibing the qualities that I want to have, qualities of love and generosity and simple-heartedness and service. So sometimes it's like that. I know for me it was like that. It's not like, oh, I was doing some nice things, or I was living renounced, I was following very nicely nonviolence, and that I was it was more that I was living like a sinful life, really. I wasn't aware of it. To me, it was just normal. That's how people around me were doing, drugs, sex. To me, that was just like part of the culture. But eventually, it just kind of kept spiraling, because it's never enough. You're never satisfied. So you're always like, what's next? What's the more interesting thing that's gonna be more intense, or whatever the next thing. Because it's just scratching an itch. This material sense enjoyment is literally, like Prabhupada says, it's like, you have a rash. I had poison ivy recently. And it's like, you just want to scratch. It's just telling you, hey, you should scratch me. It's going to feel good. It's going to feel good. But then you scratch it, and what happens? You feel some pleasure for the moment. You let go. Oh, my God. And then it's so much worse. And so it's like that. Maybe not like right away, but if you scratch the itch of sense gratification, of gratifying your lower desires, maybe for some time you get some relief, you get some satisfaction, quote unquote. But then the next day, or in a few days, or in a week, it come back stronger and stronger. And also you get the karmic reaction. You get the karmic reaction of purposefully ignoring the directions of the Supreme Lord through the scriptures, through the devotees. We don't have any excuse. Everybody has access to the directions of God, whether it's the Bible or the Quran or the Bhagavad Gita or the Bhagavatam. It's there, and it's teaching very similar principles. So if we purposefully don't take the time to study it and try to apply it to our life, that's like being a citizen of a country and just completely dismissing the laws and just being like, you know what, I don't care about these laws. Let me just do whatever the heck I want. But it's even worse than that, because it just so happens that the president, the one in charge of this material world, is actually completely pure and just has nothing but love for us and has our best well-wishing mood for us. So, when it comes to our country, we can use the excuse like, oh, I don't care about this guy. What does he have to say about me? But with the Supreme Lord, it's not like that. And there's only one way to really find out, is to put it into practice. There's only one way, or else it's all theoretical. But if we really take the time to follow the instructions, we do our best to chant 16 rounds every day, attentively, ideally in the morning, when the mind is more peaceful, when the world is calm, and trying to avoid offenses. No criticizing, offending devotees. That's a big one that can stop our advancement. Trying to detach, not holding on to material attachments, trying to detach from material things. Hey, maybe I just need 3 sets of clothes. You know, maybe I don't need so many things. So if we try to follow the process, and we should read these books every day. Read these books every day. Read the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavatam. Have it as a goal. Okay, before I leave this body, I'm going to finish the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. And the thing is, we never know when we're going to go. But to me, that's been a huge, huge transformation for me. You take it like meditation. You don't take it like I read to reach a certain point. You don't take it like, oh, I want to read the Srimad Bhagavatam in 1 year and then I'm gonna feel proud. Oh, look at me, I did that. It's like, no, you just read some every day and you don't even think about how long it's gonna take. It's the same thing with japa. The best japa we can ever do is when we're not even thinking about how much time I have to chant, or oh, I should do this amount of round in this amount of time. Like, you literally just chant and you just focus on it, and you be with the mantra as if it's actually Krishna himself, because it actually is. And the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna also. He's right there. And for somebody who reads the scriptures regularly, it's like it's a person. It'll talk to you. It'll tell you exactly what you need to hear at that moment. It's like crazy. I wonder if like the pages are changing like before I start reading it. If was this there? Was it like that? So, it's the process. Anyways, I'm just rambling. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. Paramahamsa, yes, yeah.
Srila Prabhupada, he was a Paramahamsa, but still he traveled all over the message of Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to look more into that, but that was my understanding, was that is the final stage of sannyas. I think Prabhupada breaks all of the rules, I don't know.
No, he was.
Parivrajaka, Paramahamsa, he's all of them at the same time? Do you have any explanation for that?
Saying like, like there are some Paramahamsas, who just sit in one place and do their bhajan. But, in our line, the mood is to actually give Krishna, like Narada Muni's mood was, he's also another Paramahamsa, but he's constantly traveling and preaching.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, in Lord Chaitanya's mission, there's no such thing, there's not really so much not preaching, It's always, because Lord Chaitanya literally came here to share this knowledge. He didn't say, okay, you deliver yourself, come back to me, and that's it. No, he said, spread this knowledge that in every town and village, the holy name should be heard. So thank you for sharing. You want to say something?
I had a few questions, and maybe we can just discuss. So with respect to Jainism, we know that it started from Rishabhadev, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that starts, you were mentioning that they didn't have, and I think they have the parampara. The religion took, it grew pretty to a very large extent in India. So I was wondering if anybody knows, what was so attractive about it that those that left whatever they were practicing previously took to it. Was it they were more sincere, or they saw people who were practicing more sincerely, or?
You're asking why did the religion spread?
Yeah, and if it did, why do we not consider it? Because it originally started from Rishabhadev. So.
Well, the thing is, it didn't purely start from Lord Rishabhadev. It's not like Lord Rishabhadev, taught this Arhat as like a disciple and then, trained him up so that he can be the one to continue the knowledge. Arhat just kind of like heard about Lord Rishabhadev's renunciation, and then he's like, oh, let me try to imitate that. That's what I understood from the very brief knowledge that I have here, but maybe Gokunda Prabhu wants to say something.
was explained in yesterday's purport, I believe. Prabhupada says in Karnataka, today's state, Karnataka was known as Karnataka those days, and Konkana. So there were kings in these regions, South India. So they were influenced by external renunciation of Rishabdev. But the internal, there was no introspection and a proper understanding. So that's what happens, right? Karma kandi, right? Not understanding the why do I do, what do I do? So the purpose is lost, and then we are caught up into the details and the externals. So that's what happened with them. So that was the understanding from yesterday's purport. And one more thing, I just yesterday, I happened to watch on YouTube. There is a big controversy which has been triggered in India because there is a big spiritual guru, Vaishnav guru. He was addressing the audience, and one of the audience raised this question about why they are not dressed and all. So he directly addressed the issue, and because today's world is the social media world, right? It got spread. And the feelings of that particular sect were hurt. And that triggered the controversy, and there are now back and forth videos coming up, trying to refute. So anyways, the point is, yes, in Srimad Bhagavatam we have, Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to understand the tallest order, the highest standard, and that's why it is meant for the devotees. But, these things might hurt, like if, sorry to say, please forgive me, Prabhu, but if this class was to be in India, there are many Jains walking into the temple, that would hurt their feelings. So in 3rd chapter, Krishna says, right, na buddhi vedam janayed yajnanam karma sanginam joshe sarvani karmani mukta sangha samachara. So I believe there is this ladder, yoga ladder. Even Mayavad is included everywhere. At some stage there is a step. They are better than karmis, right? Prabhupada says they are transcendentalists. They are trying to transcend the material world. They are better than karmis, and karmis are better than those who are not falling into any category, like mlechas, yavanas, and chandalas, the dog eaters, so on and so forth. So there are various gradations, and these people also, they fall somewhere. So they're following at least some principle, and there is a purification, there is elevation of, consciousness, so that they excel in the next life, and then they bump into some pure devotee. So that was just a thought. Please forgive me. I didn't want to bring this up, but in India this would have been could have been a problem. If you quote, particularly their names like Jainism or something. Like Prabhupada writes the purport. He is not directly. Is he directly? You mentioned. Yeah, but I think it is meant for the devotee crowd for a better understanding. But today is the social media world, so it can trigger any controversy.
Okay, let's not put this up on YouTube.
I mean, what I was trying to get is if it was sincerity, then how, we can improve our sincerity. I was just trying to meditate on the fact, how can we be more sincere?
Well, one thing Prabhupada said in the purport was, he talked about imitation. So we shouldn't try to imitate like Paramahamsa. So that was one thing. And yeah, it's not an easy class to give. Prabhupada goes pretty heavy. I mean, I guess I could just read and just focus on the positives as well. But thank you for sharing, Prabhu. Yeah. You wanted to say something?
I know it's late, but thank you
Yeah,
for the
maybe
nice
one
class.
last thing and then
Thank you very much for the nice class. I just wanted to say that I know with the hippies, what made them go to that kind of a lifestyle was disgust with the material world.
Mhm.
They coined the phrase anti-disestablishmentarianism, which, they were just disgusted. I just don't think they knew where to put that energy. And then you're talking about how does the seed get planted? Or, the Bible says, ask and you shall receive. And Krishna consciousness says, independent inquiry, emphasizes independent inquiry. I think that just like you said, we've been kicked by our own karma through enough lifetimes that we actually start saying, God, help me, and God reciprocates and sends you a devotee who tells you how to break free from the cycle. That's my, and that's what's happened to me. I believe that, you know, I cry out to God, what in the heck is going on here? So you have 8 billion people saying, what the heck is going on here? And God reciprocates Paramatma in your heart and answers your questions and sends you the help that you need. That's just my thought.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll just close off by saying, like Prabhu said, definitely it's a great platform to elevate. And like I said, I actually have a really good friend in in Ottawa. He comes to the temple all the time. He's a wonderful devotee. I consider him like that. So it's just, there's different ways, paths, platforms that help us elevate. So Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Boo. Vanchakalpatubhyascha kipasindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. this something similar happens.